the Watergate Building in Washington, this is Hotline TV. Now, here are Hotline editors Chuck Todd and John Mercurio.
Welcome back to another edition of Hotline TV. I'm Chuck Todd. The show just keeps going and going and going. Every day. Yeah. Every day. Who the hell are you?
I love it. I love it. I'm John Mercurio.
Are you?
Yeah.
Are you still there?
I am still here. How are you?
All right. Today we're going to focus on, we promised our viewers last week that we finally do this, those dark horse Republican gubernatorial pickups.
We do indeed.
There are two that seem to not go away. One on the left coast,
That's
Oregon.
right.
One on the right coast, Maine. Let's start with Oregon. Why is Ted Kulongoski? Goski?
Oh, Chuck Todd
Ted
hits puberty, ladies and gentlemen.
Ted Kulongoski, why is this guy vulnerable?
Because Ted Kulongoski, much like Christine Gregoire, much like Gray Davis, the former Democratic governor of California before him, is unpopular. He just has never, much like as you were talking about Tim Pawlenty the other day, never really introduced himself to the state, never really become, part of the state's political establishment. A little bit too conservative, a little bit too moderate for Democrats. That's why he had to sort of survive a Democratic challenge. I think he ultimately pulls it out because this is such a quiet state and it's a quiet race and it's a relatively Democratic race. But it's a good race. And
I like, you know what? If I were to have a dark horse upset that I think is going to happen, I'm going to pick Saxton. I think we're in a change environment. Ron Saxton is not a right-wing Republican. He is more like a Gordon Smith Republican. So he can get some of those suburban Portland voters that Republicans have just lost over the years because they always nominate somebody from Eastern Oregon, which is where just way too rural conservative. They don't seem to ever do well. You know, it's sort of the same problem that happens in Washington State. You get those Spokane guys, and they can't win. They can't win in the Seattle area.
Right.
So I think Saxton is positioned just right. I think Kulongoski, doesn't inspire anybody. There's no other race on the ballot. I think if Republicans realize they have a chance at winning, they might be able to drive the base that, conservatives will say, God, well, a moderate Republican's better than Kulongoski. I don't know. I think this is going to be the upset of the cycle.
Well, it wouldn't be an upset,
we don't
I don't
talk
think,
about.
because I think it is relatively competitive. But I think you see on the national level, Republicans, if you're right, if they really decided that they were going to just focus on one race, this might be the race that they would do it at. But unfortunately, they're spending a lot of money in states like Iowa that they need to win, or
well,
at least
that
Mitt
Romney
feels like he
needs
needs to win, or Minnesota. And I think they're sort of ignoring Oregon.
All right, let's go to the right coast. Let's go to Maine. Another Democratic governor elected in 2002. Seems to be struggling. John Baldacci, good name.
Good name.
Good tomato sauce.
But not as good as the Republican candidate running against him. Danielle Jones's favorite gubernatorial candidate this year, of course.
Why do you have to use the word gubernatorial? You know how I feel about that word.
I know how you feel about that word, but I know how you feel about this other word too. Chandler Woodcock is the Republican gubernatorial candidate. I think ultimately a little bit too far to the right for the average Maine voter, if you will, the independent swing voter.
But you're assuming this election is somehow ever going to be about Chandler Bing or Chandler Woodcock, whatever his name is here. Chandler, good name.
Chandler Bing.
He's got a lot of name there. He's got a lot of name. I mean, this guy, he's got a bow tie. He's a bow tie guy up there.
Right.
This is always about incumbent. We're in a change election. You got the most popular Republican in the history of Maine, Olympia Snowe, at the top of the ballot.
With no Democratic opponent,
real
so it's not
Democratic.
As though she can really draw out voters. I mean, it cuts both ways.
It does cut both ways, but I think that Maine always has a couple of crazy third-party people that get more than just the token one or two. They usually get like 6, 7. So if the winning number for Chandler Woodcock is 46, 47%, well, there is a conservative base in Maine outside of Kenny Bunkport that could pull this off.
Do you see Olympia Snowe really campaigning with Chandler Woodbing
over
the next couple of weeks?
Poor guy's name. No. We're slaughtering this guy's name. Well, that's interesting, and I don't know if you will.
And I don't think you will, although she has no race, so she might as well just
But the RGA has put money in here. It's the first time Mitt Romney's put money anywhere that didn't have an early presidential primary or caucus.
Right. But John McCain's not going to go up there. You're not going to see a lot of people campaign on a national level, other than maybe Mitt Romney. I think he's too conservative for Maine.
All right.
And I know Maine.
And as Maine goes, so goes
Chandler Woodbing.
There you go. All right, Joey or Chandler Bing or whoever you are. That's it for another episode of Hotline TV. See you tomorrow. I'm Chuck Todd.
I thought you were Monica. And I'm John Mercurio. Thanks for joining us.